in an adequate and satisfactory manner. The average citizen, I submit to you, would be forgiven for asking himself whether or not the nature of this grave illness, and Mr. Frundle Stewart, who masters the English language, has told you and I that there is a grave and treacherous illness. The average citizen might well be forgiven for asking whether or not the substance of that illness might affect the capacity of the Prime Minister to use maximum energy in conducting the duties of his office. Equally so, he might be forgiven for asking the question, can the Prime Minister's powers of concentration be sufficient and adequate to discharge the full burden of office? That is why I say to you that this is a very serious matter. And I say to you it is a matter about which perhaps it is difficult to speak, but it is also, if we are interested in the national security and well-being of Barbados, a matter about which it is impossible to continue to remain silent. Now, that is not a partisan matter. It is not a matter about which we should seek to cast a political divide. But it is a matter about which the Democratic Labour Party must not be inclined to play games. It is not the type of issue that admits to the gymnastics and the public relations foolishness of a Mr. Hartley Henry. It is far too serious and grave in its nature and its portent. Now let me say to you what I think you already know and perhaps have thought about, even if you have not said it. And it is this, that in several other parts of the world, so this is not the only place that a leader has become ill while in office. And perhaps I should begin here before we go abroad, because right here in this room is a former leader. And he became ill when he was in office. I remember him coming back from, it was Guyana, I think it was, sick, unable to complete a meeting. Oinasa told the public that it was an allergic reaction. He indicated with certainty the nature of the medical recommendation that there would be a few days before he would be able to work again, and all was laid bare. Erskine Sandyford of the Democratic Labour Party, a former leader, took ill, had angina, had to be operated upon whilst in office. But there was no secret attached to it. There was certainty. The public was not left to speculate, to gossip, to wonder, to feel insecure. If you go to the United States of America, you got George Bush. He had a growth on the side of his cheek. Doctors felt it might be malignant. They made him go under the knife. They told the public what the full nature of the circumstances were. They gave the public a specific plan, an idea specifically as to how long he would be away from work. So too it was with his deputy Dick Cheney, who had to have heart surgery whilst in office. The president of Nigeria, and he perhaps is a bad example, because he then sought to disappear from public view and only returned in a casket. He returned, unfortunately for him, in a casket. And Nigeria plunged into mayhem and chaos. I am reminded that the president of North Korea, Kim Jong-il, only about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, embarked on a program of advancing the information about his succession plan, because his illness will force him to step down, and he cannot do so in secret. And Fidel Castro is an identical situation. It has happened around the world, comrades. So let us not fool ourselves into believing that we are in a special and unique situation. And while, as I say to you, metaphorical fists of political combat have become unfurled and palms pressed together in supplication on the topic. While, as I say to you, that has happened, the country acted as a result of deep confidence and trust in the word of our leader, and it is not a matter about which the Democratic Labour Party can now feel that they can play games. Now, why does this become particularly important? Because only 2 days ago, when the tragedy took place in Through the Street, we had a situation in which there was not a presence of leadership of Barbados. I want to say that to you again. While the tragedy in Through the Street took place, we had a situation in which there was a complete dearth of leadership presence in Barbados. I say to you that the Commissioner of Police described it as one of our worst human tragedies. I was in the cabinet when Archcott tragedy took place. I knew about the Archcott tragedy when it broke on the news that morning, and one of the first people to be speaking to the public was Owen Seymour Arthur in his capacity as Prime Minister. Yet we are told that the Prime Minister of Barbados is back at work and in charge. As the gentleman from Clico was saying, he is at the helm. We are told that he is in charge. And this is not a matter about which we should be laughing. This is a matter now which borders on the well-being and the security of this nation. When Owen Arthur had to manage the Archcott issue, not only was he there to speak and extend words of comfort to the afflicted and affected, but he was able to put a plan in place and place Dale Marshall in charge of the administration and execution of that plan. You know, 2 days have passed, and we have not yet heard from the gentleman who is back and who is said to be in charge. I say to you that it is not only something that is peculiar to Barbados, because if you cast your mind back to the famous 9/11 incident in the United States of America when planes crashed into the towers, little did we know that the only success story of George Bush's administration would be that he would descend quickly to New York, put his arm around a fireman, talk through a blowhorn, and let the people of the United States know that he was in charge. And that someone would have to pay. And I say to you that when once we heard on Monday that Prime Minister Thompson had come back and had taken charge, we can be forgiven for reasonably expecting that issues which have been burning in this country, but which had not been met with any satisfactory response or any response at all, might be issues to which you will be hearing his voice, feeling the comforting presence of his person, and also seeing him bend his energy. And what were those issues? Because, comrades, these are issues of national well-being and in some instances national security.